Hello and welcome to Nikolay's genetics lessons, and today's problem is: in population in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, what will be the proportion of marriages between homozygotes? And in order to solve this problem, we need Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium formula, where frequency of three genotypes that can be made by two alleles in diploid organism would equal to, so we have, for example, allele P and Q, and in diploid organism these two alleles can produce following genotypes and phenotypes. So this is going to equal to P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared, and all this would equal to 1. And here we have F, which stands for the frequency. And one more time, P is one allele, Q is another type of allele, in the power of 2, meaning that this is diploid organism with two alleles. If we would have three alleles, we would add another letter here. If we would have triploid organism with three sets of chromosomes, we would put 3 here, or tetraploid, then we put 4 here. So basically we also can say, in other words, that P here is equals to, say, dominant allele A, and Q equals to recessive allele A. So P squared stands for homozygous dominant, 2PQ stands for the heterozygous genotype, and Q squared stands for homozygous recessive genotype, and the frequencies. And basically the question is, what is the probability in this population that homozygotes would mate? So what variants we have? The first variant would be that homozygous dominant would mate with homozygous dominant. Another variant would be homozygous dominant would mate with homozygous recessive. Another variant would be homozygous recessive would mate with homozygous recessive. So, as you see, 3 variants we may have. One more time, for homozygous dominant we have P squared. So basically this is how it's going to look if we refer to our formula here. So we also can put P squared multiplied by Q squared, and we also can put Q squared multiplied by Q squared. And let's take, for example, Q squared. Q squared basically means, if we take maybe letters, that is most likely you would see in any problem, like dominant and recessive allele instead of P and Q. So for example here we would have Q multiplied by Q, or we are going to have here allele A multiplied by allele A, and this is going to be A squared or Q squared. And we also have to multiply by Q squared, which is A multiplied by A. So basically we have A multiplied by A and multiplied by A and multiplied by A 4 times. So we are going to have here A in the power of 4, and for example here we are going to have p in the power of 4, and as for the variant when we have p squared multiplied by q squared, actually I have to draw simple Punnett square. We also can say that in this population we have following variants. We have homozygous dominant genotype, we have homozygous recessive genotype, and on the other side let's put the same genotypes too, and if we build simple Punnett square, we can find what frequencies we are going to have here and what combinations and variants. So for example, here in this first cell we are going to have basically p in the power of 4 or a in the power of 4. So we can put a in the power of 4, and in this cell we are going to have a small in the power of 4, so a small in the power of 4, and in this cell we are going to have a mating between homozygous dominant capital A and homozygous recessive, and in this cell we also would have mating between homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. Now, as you see, matings between homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive would happen twice as frequent than mating between homozygous dominant with homozygous dominant, or mating between homozygous recessive with homozygous recessive. So we have to reflect it in our calculations. So basically, one more time, if we would use the same letters that we use in Hardy-Weinberg formula, we can say that a in the power of 4 would equal here to p in the power of 4. Recessive allele a in the power of 4 would equal to q in the power of 4, and instead of homozygous dominant and mating with homozygous recessive, we are going to have p in the power of 2 and q in the power of 2. P in the power of 2 and q in the power of 2. So our final formula would look like p in the power of 4 plus q in the power of 4 plus 2. As you see, we have two variants here, so these two stand for two variants, and we are going to have p in the power of 2 and q in the power of 2. So the correct answer is answer D. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. Share this video with your classmates, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.